Hello everyone, thank you for this opportunity to speak today. In August 2021, my beautiful daughter Mia, age 7, was diagnosed with vEDS and our lives changed forever. I would like to share with you some pivotal moments that might help others find similarities in their experience of parenting and living with vEDS. Mia was born 5 weeks prematurely, at only 3 pounds 12 ounces, a tiny little beauty. Mia first started showing undiagnosed symptoms of vEDS at only 5 months old, and these have progressed as she has grown, including significant bruising, severe fatigue, blood in stools, heavy nosebleeds, vein rupture and bleeding, hypermobility, severe myopia, and body aches and pains, and that was at a very young age. Mia also has deformity of the talus bone, flat feet and thin translucent skin with visible veins. As if that were not enough for her to manage, she also has a platelet aggregation disorder as initially diagnosed, which affects the clotting function of her blood. Upon seeing each of these diagnoses, I felt alarmed, afraid, and initially confused. It was so hard to know what to do, but instinctively I knew I had to protect my child. Mia's vEDS symptoms were initially visible due to a serious gastro-infection where she was hospitalised at 5 months old. Bruises appeared on her abdomen and spine, and I do know that that was a sliding doors moment in our lives, as thankfully the paramedics saw the bruises spontaneously appearing on Mia as we were in the ambulance. The paramedic then accompanied me to the triage and helped explain to the doctor that these bruises were appearing on Mia in front of us. This was particularly helpful because of the mistrust around her symptoms and how they were caused. At this time, and this was back in February 2015, the local hospital had identified a coagulation issue with Mia's blood, and due to the deterioration in her condition, it led us to being blue lighted to a London hospital. Many of you in this room will understand the fear that I felt for my child, and it was only in August 2016, so when Mia was 2 years old, that we received a platelet aggregation disorder diagnosis. As things progressed, between the age of 2 to 5 years, Mia had repeated viral and bacterial infections, which would take her a significant time to recover from, including pneumonia, bronchitis, perforated eardrums, and influenza, for which she was hospitalised. Now, the infection periods would always trigger the bruising and bleeding episodes, and sometimes they would act as an early indicator at the onset of an infection. Over the years, Mia has been seen by multiple hospital teams for investigations, including, I'll just list them off, haematology, immunology, general paediatrics, rheumatology, a dietitian, cardiology, this was pre-diagnosis, gastro, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, podiatry, we referred to psychology, nearly all of the GPs in the surgery, and A&E on multiple occasions. Yet she is only 7 years old and remarkably brave. From an early age, Mia would become extremely pale, and she'd have heavy circles, dark circles under her eyes, and to me that was a physical indicator of her fatigue. And I knew that for a young child that this fatigue was not normal. She would have good days, but the tiredness affected her daily life and activities, and we quickly had to incorporate many rest periods to help her cope. Going out became difficult due to the physical impact of the fatigue, and then it would have the repercussions for the bleeding symptoms. School have always been very supportive of both Mia and I every step of the way, even before her vEDS diagnosis. They have given her additional support by the SENCO team, flexibility when unwell or too tired to make a full day without question. Her teachers recognised her fatigue and symptoms, so worked alongside me to provide support to Mia. And Annabelle's challenge were instrumental in helping the school make a formal care plan for Mia, and kindly came to visit to talk to the teachers, so thank you. Thankfully, there were similarities in the care plan to what we had instinctively found worked for Mia, such as rest periods, ice packs. It has and still is difficult to find a balance for Mia to get the most benefits out of school, but also being able to have the energy for social activities at weekends. The diagnosis, however, helped alleviate pressure. It provided a specific condition with known symptoms and allowed us as a family the opportunity to explain things scientifically, rather than people thinking we were being overly protective. It also enabled us to recognise a pattern in Mia's symptoms. For example, if she does too much, she would what I call crash, followed by bleeding and bruising symptoms. It was then imperative that we allowed her the opportunity to rest, regardless of her schedule. There are identifiable triggers which exacerbate Mia's symptoms, whether they be physical or emotional. Mia does frequently complain of aches and pains in her lower back, upper spine, knees and ankles. Swimming does alleviate this. It's gentle, she can play and relax, sometimes just float, and we could just have fun together. Now at 6 years old, a strange event that made me push even harder at the hospitals was a vein that literally swelled up under her skin, across her wrist and hand, and then it proceeded to bleed significantly under the skin and it caused her pain. It was spontaneous and it really was one of those moments where you had to be there to believe it. Well, that is, unless you're in this room. The vein popping, as Mia calls it, has increased over time and to varying degrees of severity across her body. Thankfully, Mia is remarkably resilient. We deal with everything we face together and she has such a great attitude. Her maturity amazes me, and when I'm feeling concerned for her well-being, it encourages me to be positive. I think it is important to use this platform to highlight the difficulty and adversity I faced on this journey when trying to explain Mia's symptoms and limitations to multiple professionals and various institutions which I've had to face. Those of you in this room will know how difficult it is to support a child with vEDS, and the accusatory and misbelieving responses only make things harder for everyone. Time wasted in challenging such responses, taking valuable time away from addressing the needs of my child. It was an extremely difficult time. Fortunately, I had my family to provide the impetus I needed when things were tough, and I am only too aware that not everyone has that. Despite enduring this, I never gave up, I never gave in, with the unwavering support of my family, and I did find the answers, even though it took nearly 7 years. I'm grateful for being able to finally get Mia a diagnosis to help her with her life. The turning point for us as a family was receiving clarity and the diagnosis from Dr. Brennan at the IDCT clinic. As he understood her symptoms, he knew what we were experiencing day to day, and he had most importantly seen it before in other patients. More support, advice, and bundles of information followed from the incredible charity, the family of Annabelle's Challenge. Thank you, Jared, Christina, and all the members I've been lucky enough to meet and speak to over this past year. For me, this period was a cruel sense of relief with finding answers, but a mix with form of grief as to the shock and severity of the condition. But we had to keep moving forward, and this was the time to be stronger than ever. The positive news is that we are finally on the right path. We have an amazing community to support us, which is proven here today. And prior to finishing, I do want to touch upon mental health. vEDS not only impacts those with the condition, but also their family members and loved ones. Mental health still has a stigma for many, and I want you to know that I believe it is okay to feel what you're feeling, whether it's anxiety, loss of sleep, or any one of the myriad of traumatic responses that can be triggered by living alongside those we love, experiencing such a condition. Annabelle's Challenge can help support you during such times. Life for us now is how it has always been. Mia is still the same incredible child, both pre and post-diagnosis. Mia is a comedian, loves her arts and crafts, Lego, her dog, movie making, and we focus on what Mia can do instead of what she can't. We make the most of every day, doing the little things that make her happy. She is always smiling, which is the most important thing to me and all those that love her. The key to parenting with vEDS for me is to monitor, to be receptive to how Mia feels, and always adapt according to her needs. Plans are difficult to make, but we have a lovely family, local community and friends for which I'm very grateful. During the moments in which you may struggle, I can only say that living with possibility is a different world to living with other people's expectations of what should and shouldn't be. Together, I know we are committed to the possibility of finding a cure for vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Mums on a Mission will continue to do everything in our power to raise funds for Annabelle's challenge, so that crucial research, education and support can be provided for all those affected by vEDS, because that is what they deserve. Our campaign has been very successful with incredible, relentless support. We will never give up. I'm proud to be the London coordinator and now a trustee to give something back to the charity that has given us so much support and hope. I will also continue to be the best possible advocate for Mia and make her proud, although even now she is definitely the boss and I take all of my direction, instructions and inspiration from her. Despite the difficulties of this diagnosis, again, knowledge is power, and I now know that we're not alone on this journey. All of our voices together can make such a difference in the fight for a cure. Yes, there is always a dark cloud hanging over us, but there is also light and hope. Today alone is evidence of this. I want to help raise awareness so parents, children and adults touched by this disorder do not ever have to be made to feel the way I did along our journey, and to get the support they need as quickly as possible. This gives me strength now. We're all here to make the invisible visible, even though to all of us with the knowledge we have of living with vEDS in our daily lives, it's so clear to see. We just need to educate others to make a difference. Thank you so much for listening to Mia's story, and if you've experienced any aspect of our journey, trust your judgment, trust your instincts, and know that we have survived something life-changing, and we will continue to do so together. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie, for sharing your story with us so vividly. Next up, Helping Families Talk About Vascular EDS by Claire Green, EDS Genetic Counsellor in Sheffield. Claire.